Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator add-ons, tools, updates, etc. And today I've got a few more pretty awesome updates that I think you guys are all going to enjoy. So stick around. Make sure if you guys can that you join us at Flight Sim Expo 2023. That's right, Overkill Simulations is going to be present this year, guys, at the Lone Star Museum in Houston, Texas. If you guys are interested in joining us there, be sure to check down the description below. There is a coupon code that can save you guys a bit of money using my personal reference to get you there. Again, that'll save you a bit of cash in your Flight Sim Expo 2023 experience. This is going to be June 23rd through the 25th of 2023. Again, in Houston, Texas, at the Lone Star Flight Museum. I went a few years ago in Las Vegas, and they are an absolute great time. There's some very, very informative and educational seminars to help better your flight simming experience, as well as a ton of developers of both hardware and software that you guys actually get to try out, essentially a try before you buy experience, as well as talking with the developers themselves and finding out what the products are all about. So again, guys, it's going to be Flight Sim Expo 2023 in Houston, Texas. I hope to see you guys all there. Don't forget to use my coupon code that you can find down in the description below. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, friends, no crazy talk on this time. We are going to get right after it. Now, I talked about this one in the last video. The reason why I'm bringing it up again is I've had a few days to work with it and play around with it, guys, and I really want to recommend this one. Once again, this is MSFS Aircraft Pinner. Essentially, what it does is it allows you to take your favorite, most commonly flown aircraft and allows you to pin them to the top of the list. If you guys take a look at the screenshot here, you can see the asterisk indicating that this is a favorited quote-unquote aircraft, and that every time you go to the aircraft selection menu, whatever aircraft have been asterisked will be at the they'll be displayed first, and then you'll see everything else. Now, I do want to give you guys a heads up on a few things that have changed in the application. Some of the comments and feedback that have been provided in regard to this application, one of those things comes with there are certain aircraft that aren't showing up. Now there is, in the latest version, a hyperlink that brings you guys to an FAQ regarding missing aircraft and how to solve that particular problem. So I did want to make sure that you guys saw this one once again. This is an absolute, you would think that something so simple would already be in the simulator, and you would think that something so simple is something that you wouldn't really, you could do with or without. But I'll tell you right now, as I am becoming more and more involved with virtual reality, especially Microsoft Flight Simulator, this is an extremely handy tool for making those general aviation or commercial flights that you make very commonly without having to bounce back and forth between aircraft. So wanted to show you guys this and make sure that you were aware it was there. And again, a link to all these things will be in the description below. This next one stays on the list of favorite aircraft. Now, this is a little bit different and also offers some solutions for control. So bear with me for a second. So what this particular application does is it actually allows you to save your profiles based on each individual aircraft. And as you know, Microsoft Flight Simulator offers that capability. But what it doesn't do is automatically change the control profile when you switch, say, from a helicopter to general aviation, from general aviation to commercial, right? And this is where I always talk about SPAD.next and how wonderful it is that it saves the aircraft profile, and all you do is switch plane and your control scheme automatically changes. But the drag about SPAD.next is if that's the only thing you're using it for, well, it's pretty expensive. It is definitely an expensive software. So this is a free solution to that if you're using the Microsoft Flight Simulator control scheme. If you are binding all of your controls with inside of the simulator, then this is a great tool to have on board that will automatically change your control profile based on the aircraft that you have set. And you set those profiles, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on it because the developer has done a fantastic YouTube video here, you guys. And so just come to this link here on flightsim.to, select the YouTube video and watch through it. It's very, very feature rich. It's a pretty slick program. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed, especially when you're given the limitations of Microsoft Flight Simulator in general. But it also remembers the aircraft's previous location as well. and does quite a bit more, you guys. So it's actually a really slick program. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail because the YouTube video does a great job, but you guys can see here what it actually does and how it operates. It's a very, very handy piece of software. I'm really impressed with this, especially given what it must have taken to make all of this work with inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, something that should already be there, but thank God we have these wonderful developers who are willing to donate their time and effort to our enjoyment here and to make our simulation life a bit easier. We are just staying on the topic of favorites things here. One of the things that we all know that if you are heavy into flight simulation, then you probably have 20, 30, 40, gosh knows how many applications that are used for it. SPAD.next, VATSIM, ATC, I can track IR, go on and on, SPAD.next. I think I already said SPAD.next. That doesn't count. Okay, but you guys catch the gist, okay? So what this program essentially does is allows you to basically, with a single button execution, launch multiple programs. Now, it does much more than that. One of the really cool things about this, and here's a list, perfect, this is a beautiful list of an example of applications that need to be launched with just Microsoft Flight Simulator alone. So what this also allows you to do is create delays in the launch of said applications. For example, one of the things that you might have is all of your, like for me, SPAD.next, Track IR, or maybe my VR software, GSX, FSUI PC7, FS Realistic, all these different softwares. And then I want all those to launch first. And then at the very end, I want Microsoft Flight Simulator to launch. We all know that Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially during the launch phase, can be very finicky, having other things going on in the background. So it allows you to create delays based on the particular application and when you need it to launch. Now, it may require some timing of things for you to understand, okay, well, it takes approximately a minute and a half for, my Microsoft Flight Simulator to launch to the dashboard. So, I might need to set some time of, a minute and 45, maybe 2 minutes before these other applications launch. Right. So it's got all that feature capability within inside of it. And then you just click the button and it fires it all off. It's a really, really slick application and very, very useful for those of us who have multiple applications. There are so many different apps that I use that often I forget to launch or I don't feel like launching. I'll be honest. There are times where I don't feel like launching to make the full experience what it can be. There are so many apps that I don't launch because I get tired of click, 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 and then finally, okay, time to launch Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I miss out on a lot of it because I don't feel like going through that every single time I try to launch the sim. This is the solution to that. So wanted to make sure you guys were aware this was available as well. Next up, we have a very cool Map NG server, if you will. This little tool, I was playing around with it actually yesterday, and it's actually pretty slick. It gives you everything from terrain data, weather radar, taxi airport information, top-down view of basically your entire flight, as well as much, much more. Nearest airport information, navigation sources, and it is all, again, completely free. But it gives you a ton of very valuable information that's available right on your mobile device. So it really keeps things very handy if you guys are someone who wants to take advantage of your mobile device. Now, this could be something like an Android or a Kindle, something to that effect, or just your cell phone. And this is the prime example here that's shown on the display here. Works very, very smoothly. Almost no impact that I could see to performance. I always say almost, you guys, because I always leave the room for the unknown, but it gives you a ton of information in regards to your flight, more than just a top-down display. And I'll let you guys go ahead and pause the screen and read through some of what these are, but it makes it very, very nice and very, very easy to sort of create your own navigation, as well as giving you a ton of information in regard to your flight so far. Again, this developer did a fantastic job of doing a very cool YouTube video, sort of demonstrating some of the neater features, especially here that you can see in the image where it's very clearly demonstrating the weather radar in a very, very easy to see top-down display of it. So again, wanted to make sure you guys are aware that one was available as well. Last one on the list today, you guys, is the Simbrief Panel. The Simbrief Panel gives you guys a ton of information in regard from your Simbrief flight plan. This is extremely handy, as the developer states, if you have a single monitor or you are constantly in virtual reality. Though there are many aircraft that are finally starting to get that automatic Simbrief update, it is very nice to be able to have the Simbrief panel directly in the simulator. You simply import the flight plan and it will display inside of the MSFS toolbar. And it gives you all of the same information that is critical from the Simbrief flight plan that you would use to program just about any aircraft that I can think of. From your route to your fuel to your weights and balances to your top of climb, all that good jazz, even your cost index. Like I said, it is a very, 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 very well done and very lightweight piece of software that brings all of your Simbrief information directly into the simulator. So, even with aircraft, I will say, like the Flybywire, where you have it already in the tablet, if you want to do manual programming of it. Now, I know Flybywire, A320, and much like the other big airliners, they have the automatic import of the full flight plan. But I'm going to be honest, I actually enjoy programming the FMS and the MCDUs. What I don't like is bouncing from screen to screen to screen to screen, even when you're inside the cockpit, going from camera to camera. And that's where this comes into play. That's where this is super handy. You can bring up the Simbrief flight panel, have it literally side by side to your FMS or MCDU, and just work your way down through it as if you had it in your hand or on your knee. So I guess that's the appeal to me, is I really enjoy programming and setting up the commercial aircraft. I don't like doing the flight plan imports. I like doing everything from scratch. It's just more fun for me that way personally. And it just makes you more familiar with the system, especially when there's issues like discontinuities and things like that. So that's where I find the enjoyment in that particular configuration. So this is a really handy tool to have in that particular situation. This next one I will be doing a full video on in the coming week, you guys, but FSRadio. Now, there's a couple of different applications that do similar things, but this one does a bit more, which is why I wanted to talk about this one. So first off, it hooks right up with Spotify. So if you are a Spotify user, and I actually subscribed just for this app because I thought it was pretty cool. And it gives you access to Spotify, but it does more than that. It also gives you access to the local radio stations of wherever your aircraft happens to be. So for example, I come out of Tucson, I would have access to listen to all of my local radio stations. And as I fall into, for example, the Phoenix area, say I'm flying over to Sky Harbor, I will start getting their radio stations. The other thing that it simulates is frequency degradation as you get further and further away. So again, adding a bit more realism to that particular aspect, but it does much, much more than that as well. It also gives you maps and also gives you the ATC and weather information as well to the particular airports that you're going to. You can also control your radios for the flight simulator itself, your ground control, clearance, approach, whatever it may be. Those radio frequencies are available within there as well. You have a ton of search options that are very easy to access via the virtual keyboard. It's a really, really cool app. I really enjoy it. Here's what the radio looks like. And again, guys, here it says radio, Spotify, GPS, which will switch the main screen over to the necessary display based on what you've selected. You also have all of your other information right down here at all times ready to go. There's your COM1, COM2 frequencies as well, battery avionics indicators, things like that. There's a bunch of other really neat settings that you can set up inside of it. So whether you are a Spotify user or not, this is super, super handy. And again, VR compatible. And that's where a lot of this search is starting to come from for me. Again, I'm getting more and more into virtual reality with Microsoft Flight Simulator now that it's really smoothed out. And of course, with the DOF reality simulation or motion simulation pit, it just changed the game for me. So that makes virtual reality even that more appealing. So now it's about finding tools to make the simulator as realistic as possible and comfortable as possible while in VR. And this is another tool that does a wonderful job of that. A very simple and easy to use tool is METAR Lookup. I have ran into so many situations in Microsoft Flight Simulator where even the in-game weather information will often show no METAR information available, and this little app finds it without any problem. So if you guys are ever struggling with that and you get tired of trying to deal with the live weather METAR information, not providing you with the information that you need, this is a fantastic tool to grab. The other thing that it gives you that I really appreciate is it actually gives you the ATIS information beyond just the METAR. So it's not just giving you the weather information, but it's also giving you ATIS. If ATIS is available. There are catches there. But a very short description, guys. Just a neat tool to have on board. It is third party, third window. It does not display with inside the simulator, so do keep that in mind as well. But very, very cool. All right, and my friends, that is going to wrap up today's episodes of free add-ons and tools for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I hope that you guys have found some neat information in this particular video and found it useful. If you did, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, as it absolutely helps the channel to become more public. So, as always, guys, stay safe and healthy. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks.